there, students. Mathman here. I was just out doing a little bit of yard work and I just realized there's so many angles just right here in my backyard. Let's take a look. Now, to learn more about some angles, let's go to the board. Okay, students, let's dig into some angles and angle properties. The first kind of angles we're going to look at today are called complementary angles. If you'll notice, we have this green angle here, and it's a right angle, and we know that because it has this little box. The little box there signifies a right angle when the right angle is 90 degrees. But if I take and add a little line here and cut that angle in half, I should have two angles that should still add up to 90 degrees. So if I divide it equally, both of those should be 45-degree angles, and they would both add up to 90 degrees. All complementary angles will add up to 90 degrees. The next kind of angle we'll look at is supplementary angles. Now, supplementary angles are going to be like this, and they will add up to 180 degrees. If you think about it, the angle that we just drew here is the semicircle is half of a circle, and we know that circles would have a 360-degree measurement. But again, if I took a line and sliced this angle in half, or in portions, we would have two angles that would add up to 180 degrees. So if I told you that this acute angle is 30 degrees, that would mean the other angle would be 150 degrees. And again, both of these angles would add up to 180 degrees, which is the case with all supplementary angles. The key again here to remember is that all these angles for supplementary add up to 180 degrees, and that they can be in any orientation, horizontal, vertical, or diagonal. So for this, we're going to look at some new angle properties. This is two parallel lines, and we know they're parallel because we have these two little arrow measurements that indicate that the lines are parallel. Now if I take these two parallel lines and I again cut them with a line, this line is now called a transversal. The transversal is just a line that intersects two parallel lines. It creates all kinds of new angle properties. There are 8 unique angles here that we're going to look at one by one. First, we'll look at vertical angles. Now, vertical angles, I know what you're probably thinking. We're thinking up and down, vertical. But in this case, it's a little different. We're looking at this point right here where the two angles will intersect. That is called the vertex. And so the vertex is shared between the two angles, which is why they're called vertical. So that vert refers to the vertex, such as in the case of angles 1 and 4. These two angles are vertical angles, and if you look at them, if you folded them on top of each other, they'd be the same angle, as long as you use that same vertex. So they are actually equal. So if I told you that angle 1 was 45 degrees, that means that angle 4 should be also 45 degrees. So vertical angles are always equal. For the next several angles, we're going to have to clarify a couple of things. First, if you look at the two parallel lines, you can see that there will be some of the angles that would be in between the two parallel lines and some that are outside of the parallel lines. The ones that are inside the parallel lines are called interior, just like you'd have an interior decorator decorate the inside of your house. And the ones outside of the parallel lines would be called exterior, like exterior paint for your house, painting the outside. So this is the naming structure we use when we're talking about the angles. So let's get into angle 1 and angle 8. Angle 1 and angle 8 are called alternate exterior angles. Now the reason they're called this is because they're on the exterior of the parallel lines, and they're on alternate sides or opposite sides of the transversal. Now again, if you look at it and you took those two angles and you put them together, they would look exactly the same. Flip them on top of each other. So, what do you think? Alternate exterior angles are equal. So again, if I took angle 1 and said that that was 45 degrees, angle 8 would also be 45 degrees. So alternate exterior angles are equal. Now we're going to look at alternate interior angles. So just like alternate exterior angles, they're going to be on alternate sides of the transversal, but in this case, they're going to be on the interior, on the inside of those parallel lines. So let's take a look at angle 3 and angle 6. So these two angles look the same. If you just took angle 3 and rotated around to angle 6, they would be equal. They'd be the same. So if I told you that angle 3 was 135 degrees, that means that angle 6 should also be 135 degrees, because alternate interior angles are equal. Corresponding angles. We'll look at angle 2 and angle 6. So angle 2 and angle 6 don't share a vertex. One's on the exterior, one's on the interior, so they don't follow any of the other rules. But again, if you look at these two angles, angle 2 and angle 6, they have the same curvature. And they look like the exact same angle. And that's for good reason, because corresponding angles are equal. So if I told you angle 2 was 135 degrees, angle 6 would also be 135 degrees, because corresponding angles are equal. And now we're going to take a look at co-interior angles. As the name implies, interior means it's going to be inside of the parallel lines, and co refers to being on the same side of the transversal. So, much like you'd have two teachers inside of a co-taught classroom, there are going to be two that are together. So, if we look at angle 3 and angle 5, they're on the same side of the transversal and interior, so they're on the inside of the two parallel angles. Now I know that you've looked at all these other angles and they're all equal. So this should be the same, right? Well, not quite. These two angles will actually add up to 180 degrees. So if I told you that angle 3 was 135 degrees, then angle 5 would have to be 45 degrees so that they add up to 180 degrees.
All right, students, so now that we've gone through all those angle properties and I've done all my work, it's time to go inside. So remember, hit that like button, subscribe, and for more video ideas, put them down in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.